This enormous unsecured island is actually part of North America, on the northern frontier of the Western Hemisphere. That's our territory.
I want to talk about what just took place on the world stage in Davos, Switzerland at the World Economic Forum. Donald Trump just gave a meandering lunatic speech threatening our peaceful allies. And this message, this video, this topic is as much for Americans as it is, maybe more so, for a global foreign audience. That it is no longer time to deal with Donald Trump with kid gloves or to laugh at his fucking jokes or to treat his dementia as some kind of a novelty. You are now at threat. We are now the bad guys on a global stage. We are now Russia. We are now Hungary. We are now China. We are now North Korea. We are the despot on the stage. We are now treating Venezuela and Greenland and Canada and Colombia and Panama and Cuba as Nigeria, Iran, name a fucking country. We are now the Russia to Ukraine and Crimea. That's what we are, except on a far grander scale because of the fact that we fund our military to the tune of $1 trillion annually. $1,000 billion. There are country after country. There's a list of countries that don't have a GDP for their entire nation that totals $1 trillion. Switzerland, for one. Saudi Arabia, I think, has barely over $1 trillion GDP. And Donald Trump took to the global stage to crack his little joke. Do you guys want me to talk about Greenland? While leveling not even veiled threats against them, talking constantly. I have 4 clips here. One is he forgets. He confuses Iceland and Greenland. That one's like 45 seconds. And then I've got 3 others. And listen, this gets dry. I know this is Donald Trump. I know that it's irritating, but stick with me here. Even if you're skipping through the clips, get through to the end where we can talk about where the danger lies here. How we are now the bad guys on a global stage. We are not the good guys. We've claimed for generations to be the good guys. Even in this, Donald Trump talks about how we won World War II, and without us, you'd be speaking German or a little bit of Japanese. He's a moron. He's a dangerous fucking lunatic. So stick with me because this is important. Let's begin with our demented lunatic of a president. And I know I keep saying lunatic, but there's no better word to describe Donald Trump. The megalomaniacal lunatic, the sociopath with psychopathic tendencies. Here he is confusing the country that he wants to be the subject, the object, the target of his imperialist conquest. Is it Iceland or is it Greenland?
But the problem with NATO is that we'll be there for them 100%. But I'm not sure that they'd be there for us. If we gave them the call, gentlemen, we are being attacked. We're under attack by such and such a nation. I know them all very well. I'm not sure that they'd be there. I know we'd be there for them. I don't know that they'd be there for us. So with all of the money we expend, with all of the blood, sweat, and tears, I don't know that they'd be there for us. They're not there for us on Iceland, that I can tell you. I mean, our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland. So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money. But that dip is peanuts compared to what it's gone up.
First of all, it wasn't the first dip in the stock market, Donald Trump. The first dip was a crash when you announced your global tariffs, taxing Americans and increasing inflation in the United States. Yeah. Let's get into this. Let's go a few minutes back from that moment that you just witnessed, where Donald Trump is using the power and weight and the width and the breadth and the might of the American military as a cudgel, as a threat against not our enemies, not against North Korea, not against Russia, not against actual global threats, but against our peaceful allies in his quest, his conquest of imperialism to acquire, by force if necessary, the nation of Greenland.
Would you like me to say a few words of Greenland? I was going to leave it out of the speech, but I thought I think I would have been reviewed very negatively. I have tremendous respect for both the people of Greenland and the people of Denmark, tremendous respect. But every NATO ally has an obligation to be able to defend their own territory. And the fact is, no nation or group of nations is in any position to be able to secure Greenland other than the United States. We're a great power, much greater than people even understand. I think they found that out 2 weeks ago in Venezuela. We saw this in World War II, when Denmark fell to Germany after just 6 hours of fighting and was totally unable to defend either itself or Greenland. So the United States was then compelled, we did it, we felt an obligation to do it, to send our own forces to hold the Greenland territory, and hold it we did at great cost and expense. They didn't have a chance of getting on it, and they tried. Denmark knows that. We literally set up bases on Greenland for Denmark. We fought for Denmark. We weren't fighting for anyone else. We were fighting to save it for Denmark. Big, beautiful piece of ice. It's hard to call it land. It's a big piece of ice. But we saved Greenland and successfully prevented our enemies from gaining a foothold in our hemisphere. So we did it for ourselves also. And then after the war, which we won it big. Without us, right now you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, perhaps. After the war, we gave Greenland back to Denmark. How stupid were we to do that? But we did it. But we gave it back. But how ungrateful are they now?
No one can do it better than us. You don't even understand how mighty our military is. Greater than people even understand, I think they found out 2 weeks ago when we attacked Venezuela. And then the whole German and Japanese thing, which, by the way, is a misunderstanding. It is something that the Freedom Fries Party in the United States, we're not going to call them French fries anymore. We're going to call them Freedom Fries. This is the same kind of a moron take about the history of our globe and the events that have taken place that people who are stupid believe. That we single-handedly won the war, and without us, you'd be speaking German. That's something that some kind of a MAGA moron says with no clear understanding of history whatsoever. If you want to look at who actually was the major push in winning World War II, if we're going to give out participation trophies like Donald Trump loves, it would be Russia. Russia bore the brunt of the fatalities, and Russia was the one who depleted the forces of Nazi Germany through the attrition of their own forces. It wasn't us. Yeah, we helped, but it wasn't we weren't the decisive winners of World War II. But how ungrateful are they now? We gave it back. We never possessed Greenland. We never did anything. We never possessed it in a way that would give us a position to give it back. Defending your friends and neighbors is what good friends and neighbors do. They don't owe us something for coming to their aid. They don't owe us something for preventing Germany from acquiring Greenland. That's as much in our best interest as it was theirs. But Donald Trump isn't a good friend. He isn't a good neighbor. Everything's transactional with this fucking ghoul. Let's move on to the second clip where, again, he continues the not so veiled threats of using the might of the United States military against our peaceful allies.
But we gave it back. But how ungrateful are they now? So now our country and the world face much greater risks than it did ever before because of missiles, because of nuclear, because of weapons of warfare that I can't even talk about. 2 weeks ago, they saw weapons that nobody ever heard of. They weren't able to fire one shot at us. They said, what happened? Everything was discombobulated. They said, we've got them in our sights. Press the trigger, and nothing happened. no anti-aircraft missiles went up. There was one that went up about 30 feet and crashed down right next to the people that sent it. They said, what the hell is going on? Those defensive systems were made by Russia and by China. So they're going to go back to the drawing boards, I guess. Greenland is a vast, almost entirely uninhabited and undeveloped territory that's sitting undefended in a key strategic location between the United States, Russia, and China. That's exactly where it is, right smack in the middle. Wasn't important nearly when we gave it back. You know, when we gave it back, it wasn't the same as it is now. It's not important for any other reason, you know, everyone talks about the minerals. There's so many places. There's no rare earth, no such thing as rare earth. There's rare processing, but there's so much rare earth. And this, to get to this rare earth, you got to go through hundreds of feet of ice. That's not the reason we need it. We need it for strategic national security and international security. This enormous unsecured island is actually part of North America, on the northern frontier of the Western Hemisphere. That's our territory. It is therefore a core national security interest of the United States of America. And in fact, it's been our policy for hundreds of years to prevent outside threats from entering our hemisphere, and we've done it very successfully. We've never been stronger than we are now.
Because of the missiles, because of nuclear, because of weapons of warfare that I can't even talk about, he says. 2 weeks ago, they sold the weapons that nobody's ever heard of. They weren't able to fire a shot at us. We're so powerful. We're so mighty. We're so advanced. We're so skilled. We're so well trained. We can take you out and you won't even know what to do. He levels threats against our allies, while claiming that without him, there would be no NATO. And that because Greenland exists within the Western Hemisphere, it's ours. Canada, you exist within the borders of what we consider the Western Hemisphere of the globe. You're ours. Mexico, you're ours. Everything in the Western Hemisphere is the United States', apparently, because no one else can defend it like we can. No one else can defend anything like we can because we pay $1 trillion fucking dollars for our military that is slowly morphing into loyal to Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States, with skinny, spindly-legged Pete Hegseth, the credibly accused rapist, as the Secretary of Defense. Here's clip 3. Wait for it, because he just kind of slides into a demented rant about his grievances, about the 2020 election being stolen, and spewing his nonsense conspiracy series over and over and over to a crowd of people who know he's lying. He's not convincing them. They are laughing at him. They're not with him. They are not with him. Nor should they be. Also, they shouldn't be chuckling it up at his dipshittery. He should be met with derision everywhere he goes. Watch this third clip.
We've never been stronger than we are now. That's why American presidents have sought to purchase Greenland for nearly 2 centuries. You know, for 2 centuries, they've been trying to do it. They should have kept it after World War II, but they had a different president. That's all right. People think differently. Much more necessary now than it was at that time, however. In 2019, Denmark said that they would spend over $200 million to strengthen Greenland's defenses. But as you know, they spent less than 1% of that amount. 1%. There's no sign of Denmark there. And I say that with great respect for Denmark, whose people I love, whose leaders are very good. It's the United States alone that can protect this giant mass of land, this giant piece of ice, develop it and improve it and make it so that it's good for Europe and safe for Europe and good for us. And that's the reason I'm seeking immediate negotiations to once again discuss the acquisition of Greenland by the United States, just as we have acquired many other territories throughout our history. as many of the European nations have. They've acquired. There's nothing wrong with it. Many of them, some went in reverse, actually, if you look. Some had great, vast wealth, great, vast lands all over the world. They went in reverse. They're stuck back where they started. That happens too. But some grow. But this would not be a threat to NATO. This would greatly enhance the security of the entire alliance, the NATO alliance. The United States is treated very unfairly by NATO. I want to tell you that. And when you think about it, nobody can dispute it. We give so much and we get so little in return. And I've been a critic of NATO for many years. And yet I've done more to help NATO than any other president by far, than any other person. You wouldn't have NATO if I didn't get involved in my first term. The war with Ukraine is an example. We are thousands of miles away, separated by a giant ocean. It's a war that should have never started, and it wouldn't have started if the 2020 U.S. presidential election weren't rigged. It was a rigged election. Everybody now knows that. They found out. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It's probably breaking news, but it should be. It was a rigged election. You can't have rigged elections. You need strong borders, strong elections, and ideally a good press. I always say it. Strong borders, strong elections, free, fair elections, and a fair media. The media is terrible. It's very crooked. It's very biased, terrible. But someday it'll straighten out because it's losing all credibility. Think of it. When I went in a landslide, a giant landslide, won all 7 swing states, won the popular vote, won everything, and I only get negative press. That means that it has no credibility. And if they're going to get credibility, they're going to have to be fair. So you need a fair press. But you also need those other elements. And I inherited a terrible, terrible situation. If you look, the border was open. The inflation was raging. Everything was bad with the United States when I came into office.
You wouldn't even have NATO if it weren't for me. This is sociopathic. This is psychopathic behavior. This is lunatic talk from the President of the United States, a man with the nuclear codes, who the least educated, least informed, low information section of our populace sees as some kind of a golden god, a cult leader. Nothing he says can be questioned. You cannot exercise your First Amendment rights to question the president. Donald Trump is the man. He cannot be questioned. As he lies about the 2020 election, as he talks about there will be prosecutions. I know it went long. I want to hear from you, though. Please sound off in the comments below this video, wherever you're watching it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Like and follow the Facebook page. Share that content there natively. Help with the algorithm. I appreciate it very much. The algorithm, not algorithm. Maybe Donald Trump it's contagious. His lack of ability to speak articulately. Maybe so.
This bargain no longer works. Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition.
All right, let's stick with Davos. Let's stick with the world order here. Let's stick with leaders on a global stage who actually have the gumption and the leadership ability to call Donald Trump out on his shit. Now, Mark Carney here, the Prime Minister of Canada, our peaceful ally to the north, our neighbor, our good neighbor, filled with decent and loving people, accepting people. It is a nation that has placed empathy and politeness as it has become a trope about how apologetic and friendly Canadians are. It's stereotype for a Canadian to be super nice. Because it's true, largely. Obviously, they have their cross-section of dipshits in Western Canada. North of where I grew up in Idaho, you've got your individually, your toughness, you pull yourself up by your bootstrap racists. They have them there. But largely Canada is a land of beauty, both in geography, but also in the people there. And Mark Carney is no exception. He took to the stage at Davos in Switzerland at the World Economic Forum and talked about American hegemony, about leadership of America and how things used to be, but that can't be relied on anymore. There is no decency coming from the United States. In fact, if anything, there are threats emanating from their neighbor to the south, the United States. And Mark Carney, while not naming Donald Trump by name, absolutely calls this as it is. And I hope, here's my call to other world leaders, start treating Donald Trump like he is. Start acting as though there is a real threat to your countries, because Donald Trump is a modern day Hitler. You wouldn't sit around and laugh at the jokes of Hitler at a global forum like this. Certainly not knowing what we know now about Adolf Hitler, right? Well, Donald Trump is no different. He is imperialist. He is a conquest. He's a racist. He's rounding up black and brown people for the crime of being black and brown in the United States. Even citizens are not immune from this. So here is the Prime Minister of Canada really speaking more forcefully and accurately than any world leader that I've seen up to this point. And I, for one, am here for it.
For decades, countries like Canada prospered under what we called the rules-based international order. We joined its institutions, we praised its principles, we benefited from its predictability. And because of that, we could pursue values-based foreign policies under its protection. We knew the story of the international rules-based order was partially false, that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically. And we knew that international law applied with varying rigor depending on the identity of the accused or the victim. This fiction was useful. And American hegemony in particular helped provide public goods, open sea lanes, a stable financial system, collective security, and support for frameworks for resolving disputes. So we placed the sign in the window. We participated in the rituals, and we largely avoided calling out the gaps between rhetoric and reality. This bargain no longer works. Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition. Over the past 2 decades, a series of crises in finance, health, energy, and geopolitics have laid bare the risks of extreme global integration. But more recently, great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons. Tariffs as leverage, financial infrastructure as coercion, supply chains as vulnerabilities to be exploited. You cannot live within the lie of mutual benefit through integration when integration becomes the source of your subordination. The multilateral institutions on which the middle powers have relied, the WTO, the UN, the COP, the architecture, the very architecture of collective problem solving are under threat. And as a result, many countries are drawing the same conclusions, that they must develop greater strategic autonomy in energy, food, critical minerals, in finance and supply chains. And this impulse is understandable.
This bargain no longer exists. The old world order, both economic and military, and the ally, the station of allies between nations no longer exists. The great powers that we once considered great, and I guess sometimes altruistic, no longer exist. We need to find new allies. We need to find new trade partners. We are being left in the dust by the rest of the world because Donald Trump wants to ally himself with countries like Russia, Hungary, the terrorist funding Saudi Arabia, Qatar. That's who he wants to be friends with. North Korea, maybe they're up next. China, he wants to be among countries that are of a global harm, that contribute to a destabilized planet, both economically and militarily, socially, culturally. Donald Trump wants to be an agent of chaos like he is, like he knows he can be. Because when the world is more unstable, he's able to put his thumb on it here and put his thumb on it here to make things better for himself so he can enrich himself. I'm going to talk later about the $1.5 billion almost that Donald Trump has profited himself in just 1 year as president of the United States. While MAGA, crickets. While Republican congressmen and senators, crickets. They're allowing him to be the dictator that he dreams to be because they have no loyalty to the United States. They have no fealty to the Constitution. They have no notion of respect for the oath, their own word that they gave to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Donald Trump is clearly that domestic threat to the Constitution. He's tweeted it. He's put it out on True Social that a fraud of this magnitude gives me the right to terminate all rules and regulations and articles up to and including the Constitution of the United States. And these fucking traitors side with him, the traitor, over their own oath to this document. These people who claim to be, oh, I'm a libertarian type. I have full respect for this document. We need to follow to the letter of the law, the Constitution, while he runs roughshod over it. The civil rights, the human rights of individuals in our country. If Donald Trump is willing to round up black and brown people in this nation, what do you think he's willing to do to the people of Greenland or Canada or Colombia or Venezuela or Cuba or Panama or Mexico or Nigeria or Iran or Norway or Denmark or Iceland? We'll throw that one in since he got confused today. It's time for the world to start treating Donald Trump even more aggressively than Mark Carney did in this mild pushback. You will lose everything if you do not. We're already losing everything here because there's too many politicians, even Democrats, that won't do the right motherfucking thing. Chuck Schumer, resign as minority leader. You're doing nothing. We'd be better off not having a minority leader. Hakeem Jeffries, step aside, sir. You could just be a congressman from Brooklyn. We don't need you as the minority leader when you do nothing. We need a lot more than just flapping lips. We need action. When Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are doing virtually the same thing I do, a man out of power, I have no power other than the reach of my audience, we're in a bad situation. Why is there not lawsuits day after day after day after day? Why is there not a press conference being given every single day of the damage that Donald Trump is doing? Every single day on the steps of the United States Capitol, here's what Donald Trump has done today. I don't know. More of this, less of the appeasing of the modern day Hitler. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below this video. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Canada, you got a good one. Be proud. Be very pleased today at the performance of your prime minister, because this is bravery in the face of a despot that leads the Earth's most mighty military that's ever existed. It's a good thing.
We started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color.
While Donald Trump's imperialist conquest of the globe continues, it marches on day by day, threatening our peaceful allies in Europe. If you're not going to give me Greenland, I will threaten you. You saw what we did to Venezuela. We'll do it to everybody else too. What would we expect when not only is he assaulting black and brown people for the crime of being black and brown, walking up to black dudes getting gas, where are you born? Walking up to women on the sidewalk, where are you born? You must prove your legitimacy to be here. And they're doing it to citizens too, in both of those cases. But why would we expect Donald Trump to act any differently when even They are targeting local police in Minnesota, putting guns in their faces, drawing their weapons on fellow law enforcement with this idiot crew of ICE agents who are functionally illiterate, who can't pass open book tests, who are too fat to fit in uniforms, who have to get extra size flak jackets and protective gear because they don't meet physical standards of someone in this paramilitary force of Donald Trump, this masked secret police force of goons that is willy-nilly violating judges' orders, federal judges' orders, and pepper spraying and detaining American citizens who simply exercise their First Amendment right to protest. They're going after anybody who stands up to Donald Trump and his masked Gestapo force. And even cops are now speaking up. Mark Bruley is the police chief of Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. And they held a wide-ranging 27, 30-minute presser yesterday where he specifically, I want to highlight the things he said about what's taking place on the streets of these suburbs of Minneapolis in Minnesota at the hands of Donald Trump's masked secret police goons. And look, he's going to begin it by saying, look, we're not here to call for the abolition of ICE. You're fucking wrong. You should be. We don't need a private Gestapo force that is only loyal to Donald Trump, that only follows the edicts of Donald Trump, that only follows the orders of these Nazi credibly accused rapists of children. We don't need that. So you can save your loyalty to your brothers in blue. But the part that I do want you to pay attention to, because that could be absolutely just rejected out of hand. It's a nonsense argument that only people who are not fully loyal to the Constitution hold. What I do want you to pay attention to are the tales he's telling, the stories he's relaying about his own officers being assaulted, being drawn on with weapons to their faces by ICE agents. Again, back to blue, thin blue line. We're all in this together, right? Yeah, no.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Bruley, Police Chief of the City of Brooklyn Park. Behind me is a bunch of amazing police chiefs that are here in support of a very short but very important message that we want to share with you. What you won't hear from any of us today is rhetoric of abolish ICE or that there shouldn't be immigration enforcement. The truth is, immigration enforcement is necessary for our national security and for local security. But how it's done is extremely important. In fact, we have a long history of working exceptionally well with our federal partners, including ICE agents, and we have seen the best of them perform their job extremely well in the past. With that said, recently, as the last 2 weeks, we, as law enforcement community, have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from U.S. citizens. What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally. As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them. In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a U.S. citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, prevented her from recording it. The officer had their guns drawn during this interaction. And after the officer became so concerned, they were forced to identify themselves as a Brooklyn Park police officer in hopes of slowing the incident and de-escalating the incident down. The agents then immediately left after hearing this, making no other comments, no other apologies, just got in their vehicles and left. I wish I could tell you that this was an isolated incident. In fact, many of the chiefs standing behind me have similar incidents with their off-duty officers. This isn't just important because it happened to off-duty police officers. But what it did do is we know that our officers know what the Constitution is, they know what right and wrong is, and they know when people are being targeted. And that's what they were. If it is happening to our officers, it pains me to think of how many of our community members are falling victim to this every day. It has to stop.
They're not stopping white cops. They're not harassing white cops. They're not drawing on white cops. They're not pepper spraying white cops. They're not detaining white cops. It's black and brown people. Because this is a racist policy that Donald Trump is endeavoring. This is, without doubt, it's not even an inflammatory thing to say. Donald Trump, under the guise of white supremacy, is attempting to create a white ethno-state. We are allowing some refugees in, white South Africans, because of white genocide that is not taking place. It's a conspiracy theory by racists, by the white power movement. It's something that's been taught. White genocide, the Great Replacement theory, these are all things that were talked about in quiet, in whispers, in militia groups, at the Aryan Nation compound in northern Idaho, 2.5 hours from where I grew up. Not even 2.5 hours from where I grew up. And now people have the temerity to deny that that's what's taking place. They're eating the pets. They're eating the cats and the dogs, Donald Trump said of black people. They're stealing all the welfare. They're stealing all the welfare, Donald Trump says of Somalis. This is an attempt to cleanse the streets of Minnesota of black and brown people. If this was just targeted immigration, they wouldn't be harassing black and brown cops. They wouldn't be harassing American citizens who don't happen to have the right skin tone for Donald Trump. That is a fact. And now you've got cops who bend over backwards to defend the existence of ICE, while also saying, but they just need to do their jobs better. Apparently he's taken a page out of Cory Booker's playbook. No, we need ICE. We need ICE. They just need to be well trained. They need to be trained better at how to violate the rights of American citizens, to murder American citizens in the street, like Renee Good. You think Donald Trump gives a fuck about any of that, Mark Bruley? About abiding by the Constitution and the laws set forth, the foundational principles of our country, of due process? You think he cares about any of that? If he's willing to have his personal, loyal to him, Proud Boy army, the masked secret police Gestapo, harass your cops, your employees, the thin blue line loyalty bullshit? Let's start dealing with reality on reality's terms, folks. This is not the situation we're in anymore. ICE has gotten everything they want. They are unfettered. They're being told they have absolute immunity to commit any crime they see fit to commit, to harass any person, to snuff out the life of anyone. If you deny Donald Trump what he wants, you will be a target. Let's get it together, folks. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below this video. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Please consider, if you have it within your financial means, you have $2 a month, you can help support and produce what I do here. You can take part in these videos being published and spreading the message. Become a channel member on YouTube. Click the join button below the video, or go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast.
Well, first, is ICE arresting U.S. citizens? ICE arrests U.S. citizens every day.
Let's stick with this theme about Donald Trump's mass secret police force being his personal Gestapo that is now filled to the brim with Proud Boys and insurrectionists and people who were convicted of seditious conspiracy against the nation, against the Constitution of the United States, to which they've now ostensibly sworn oath to uphold and support and defend. I'm tired of being labeled, or having been labeled, an alarmist, Oh, come on, Jesse. That's not true. None of this is going to happen. You're just being an alarmist. Donald Trump's not going to do this. He's not going to outfit a personal police force that is loyal only to him to harass and deport and murder citizen and non-citizen alike. That's not going to happen. Come on. Here we are. And Donald Trump's borders are the mush-mouthed dildo with ears, Tom Homan, once again taken to Fox News to inform us that, yeah, you know what? Let's make it clear, he says. ICE detains citizens all the time. They can do so if they have reasonable suspicion. The same person who defends the murder of Renee Good, the walking up to dudes at a gas station getting gas, asking them where they're born. People on the sidewalk, where are you born? Where are your papers? Prove to us you are worthy of Donald Trump's grace to be in the country. That same guy is saying, yeah, if we have reasonable suspicion, these vague and nebulous terms that mean nothing to these people because they're not bound by rules. They believe they have the ultimate unlimited immunity, absolute immunity from all of the crimes that they will commit against citizen and non-citizen alike. Watch the aforementioned mush mouth dildo with ears who possibly just got done just gargling a boot full of whiskey before his hit with Will Cain, the other spindly armed little dipshit who thinks he's a big tough man on Fox News.
What we'll start with, that they are, ICE, targeting American citizens. And the latest example that they're using is this man in Minneapolis, taken out of his home, wearing only boxers, looks like a towel wrapped around his shoulder. I think he is a Hmong immigrant to the United States, but who is in fact an American citizen. What do you say to the facts of this case, Tom Homan?
Well, let's look at the facts of that case. So ICE was looking for 2 illegal aliens with criminal convictions. One, sexual assault of a child. The other one, domestic violence, to include obscenity and sexual assault. So both these people shouldn't be walking the streets of this nation. So ICE did a target enforcement operation, pulled over a vehicle that was licensed to one of these sexual predators. The driver of the car was identified as not being one of them. But his statement to the officer was, the guy you're looking for is at the house right now. I left it. I just left that house. So ICE went to the house where these 2 people reportedly living. And they went in there and they located this individual. This individual who matched the description, but they couldn't verify his identity because he was uncooperative. He failed to do a quick fingerprint check. He failed to do facial recognition. So ICE detained him till they found out who he was. And let's make it clear. ICE can detain a U.S. citizen if they have probable cause of this person may have committed a crime. Detainment, short detainment and questioning, all you need is reasonable suspicion. If they're going to actually arrest a person and charge them, they need probable cause.
I was going to say, Tom, you don't even need probable cause for a detention. You only need reasonable suspicion.
You see, the problem lies in the fact that reasonable suspicion or probable cause that they committed a crime, they believe that if you're exercising your First Amendment right under the Constitution to redress your government of your grievances, to peaceably assemble, to practice your free speech, that's a crime. That if you speak out against Donald Trump and his policies, that's a crime. That you're an insurrectionist if you exercise your First Amendment right, if you speak loudly, if you insult ICE, if you call them the masked fucking cowards that they are to their face, that's a crime according to this moron who, I guess it's not a crime to take $50,000 in a bag at a restaurant as a bribe after promising you're going to secure sweetheart deals for certain companies. The corruption is just something to marvel at if it didn't harm us all. I'm not an alarmist. I am a truth teller. I've had my eye on this from the very beginning and have been correct, along with many, many, many others in my space. It's not me alone who's the genius or the brilliant prognosticator of things to come. It was very clear what was going to happen. If you've read even a scant portion of Project 2025, this has been the fucking plan all along. To create a white ethno-state in the United States. And Donald Trump's hand-picked individuals who are loyal only to him, not loyal to the law, not loyal to our system of jurisprudence, not loyal to the norms and standards of policing, certainly not loyal to the Constitution. They're only loyal to Donald Trump. He's placed them there for that reason, so they can achieve his objective of a white ethno-state. Here's Tom Homan saying, yeah, we arrest U.S. citizens every single day.
Ascertain someone's identity. You have any idea what percentage of people you're detaining turn out to be American citizens?
Well, first, is ICE arresting U.S. citizens? ICE arrests U.S. citizens every day for trafficking and smuggling and drug distribution and weapons dealing. ICE enforces 400 laws and statutes. So, yeah, ICE do arrest U.S. citizens. Are we targeting U.S. citizens as part of this immigration enforcement? Not unless you are protesters that crossed the line and committed impediment, interference, assault, or, so, to say we're targeting U.S. citizens for immigration enforcement, that's just false accusation. But U.S. citizens are arrested if they violate the law and violate one of the 400 statutes that ICE, enforces.
All right.
So, yeah, ICE do arrest, he says. Where are those cases, Tom? What's the outcome of those? I mean, obviously you secured indictments, right? Through the grand jury proceedings, through our normal system of justice. You would have evidence to back those things up, right? The trafficking and all of the other crimes that you listed. Where are the many, many, many cases that you're bringing? Instead, what we see is ICE chasing DoorDash drivers for the crime of being brown, chasing them into the houses of community members in Minneapolis. We see them approaching people of color. They're not walking up to me getting gas in Minneapolis. They're walking up to black dudes. They're walking up to black ladies and asking them where they were born. This isn't about reasonable suspicion. Speaking with an accent in the United States isn't a suspicious thing. It doesn't give you reasonable suspicion. In fact, you know what's really interesting about this is I've seen so many of these videos, hundreds and hundreds of these videos I've watched. I have forced myself against my better emotional judgment to do so, to watch these ghouls who speak in Spanish accents. They don't have your standard American white guy dialect like I have. They have an accent, a discernible accent, and they're asking other people with accents for their papers, because this isn't about the law. This isn't about immigration. This is about creating a white ethno-state. And this dull goon, Tom Homan, it would be a very dull spear, but he is the tip of the spear for this for Donald Trump. Another dull knife in the drawer. They're just racists. They are just white supremacists. They want to effectuate a white Christian nationalist nation with their particular flavor of Christianity being the cause, being the director of how we operate in this country, what things we value in this country. So when I say that they want to take away women's right to vote, it's not alarmist. It's part of the pattern and practice, the standard operating procedure of their ideology. The same church that Pete Hegseth goes to here in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill is pastored by, has been seeded by Douglas Wilson, who believes that women are just people that people come out of and that they don't deserve the right to vote. This is what they want. It's not alarmist to call it what it is. For me, it's alarmist to stick your fucking head in the sand and ignore the clear and present danger that lies before us. What do you think? I'll leave it there. I've been waiting for this for a long time, Kelly told podcaster Jesse Dollemore in a December 9th video. I go to his church almost every Sunday, and I miss him every time. So this was a long time coming. Speaking of Pete Hegseth's church and the church in general and this fake fealty to some kind of a Christian denomination that these ghouls would like to have you believe is the true measure of Christianity. Even though scripture after scripture after scripture after scripture after scripture in the red letters of the New Testament, the actual words of Jesus are an admonition of taking care of the poor and the sick and the oppressed. Come unto me, Jesus said. And now Kristi Noem, after this group of protesters entered a church in Minneapolis, they are just beside apoplectic. Oh, good Lord, what are we going to do? Antifa's coming after the churches. These these martyr-minded morons who believe that we're next, it's going to be our church next, that people come to hold us accountable for our crimes against humanity in thought and in action. These fake Christians. Kristi Noem was on with Greta Van Susteren on Newsmax. Just a couple of fucking ugly ghouls. Ugly in spirit, ugly in countenance, ugly in appearance. Just gross. It's a fucking circle jerk of ass-hattery every moment on Newsmax. And Greta Van Susteren begins to talk about acting field director David Easterwood. Don't say his name. Oh, you're doxing him, she said. Oh, thank you for not saying his name. You just don't understand that the more you say his name, the more danger he's in. We're going to get to that. Actually, let's play the clip here, and then we'll address it on the other side.
The church, I'm going to go to the church. That's a particularly, troubling issue because you've got the pastor. I purposely didn't name him, but he at least had been reported he's associated with ICE. And
thank you for not naming him, because people don't realize that when you keep naming someone over and over again, you increase the threats against them. And that pastor really did a remarkable thing there, trying to protect his parishioners.
And even the parishioners, I imagine, have felt and feel intimidated and.
They did, and there's going to be arrests in the next several hours, Greta. There will be arrests tied to that, and people will be brought to justice for how they violated the law in that situation.
Wait. When you name someone over and over, it increases the threats to them? Is that right? Is that a fact? I had no idea I had that kind of power. By naming someone like it's some kind of a horror movie, what's the horror movie where you say the guy's name in the mirror 3 times and he shows up, like Candyland or Candy? I don't know. Anyway, so that's it. That's all you got to do is say the name, and then there's threats that increase. Kristi Noem, Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance, Kash Patel. Any others? Who did I miss? Marco Rubio. Pete Hegseth. Am I increasing the risk to them by saying their name, Kristi Noem? You fucking moron. Is that what I'm doing? If only I had some, you know what's happening here, right? You get what I'm doing? If only there was some video I had of David Easterwood announcing himself and his name and his position in a public setting. You know what would be even better is if I had that video and Kristi Noem was right there with him when he did it. Oh, that would be wonderful. If only I had that.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Secretary Noem, for your leadership and for taking the time to join us here today. Your presence underscores the importance of the work we do every day in service to the mission of the Department of Homeland Security and the American people. My name is David Easterwood. I'm the Acting Field Office Director for Enforcement and Removal Operations, ERO St. Paul. I am honored to lead the officers and staff of ICRO across Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, and Nebraska. The men and women of ERO St. Paul embody the highest standards of professionalism, integrity, and dedication. Every day, they face complex challenges with determination and resolve, ensuring the safety of our communities and the enforcement of our nation's immigration laws. Their work is critical to the security of the United States, and I am proud to lead such an outstanding team. Across Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Iowa, our efforts have made a profound impact. Whether it's apprehending criminal illegal aliens who pose a threat to public safety, managing detention operations with care and professionalism, or collaborating with federal, state, and local partners, our officers demonstrate every day what it means to serve with honor and dedication.
I'm out of breath having watched. He doxed himself. He put himself in danger. He's inviting threats. Oh my God. That is remarkable. I can't believe that David Easterwood, the acting director of ICE in the field office of St. Paul, just did that to himself. I cannot even believe it. That is remarkable. His name is a matter of public record. Listen, I know that they really want to be Donald Trump's secret police, but you do not have the right to anonymity when you are effectuating the murder of American citizens, the disappearance of American citizens and immigrants in this country. You don't get to be secret while doing that. That's not how it works. You're a public servant on the public payroll. You're a public servant. David Easterwood, acting director of the St. Paul, Minneapolis ICE office, David Easterwood. The threats are just increasing. You see, they don't want him named, but they're all over naming anybody who protests, who exercises their First Amendment rights, even inside of a church to which they were invited. This is from the Daily Caller, Tucker Carlson's white supremacist rag. Get a load of this headline. Anti-ICE agitator who harassed Minnesota Christians also heckled Pete Hegseth outside church. You'll remember this, friend of the show, friend of mine, Will Kelly, telling Pete Hegseth that he's going to learn how to do a pull-up in prison and calling him the traitorous fucking coward that he is.
Hey, you treasonous traitor! Hey, you murderer! You're gonna learn how to do a pull-up in prison! You're gonna learn how to do a pull-up in prison, you traitorous dog! You cowardly, treasonous murderer! Shame on you, you traitor! Shame on you, you coward! Traitor! You shitbag! You can't even do a pull-up, you drunk! You treasonous traitor! Hey, you murderer! You're gonna learn how to do a pull-up in prison! You're gonna learn how to do a pull-up in prison, you traitorous dog! You cowardly, treasonous murderer! Shame on you, traitor! Shame on you, coward! Traitor! You shitbag! You can't even do a pull-up, you drunk dog! You traitorous dog! Hey, learn how to do a pull-up, you bitch-ass traitor! You can't even do a pull-up and you think you're an alpha male? Fuck you, Nazi!
So that moment that you just watched, that vertical video moment from Will Kelly, DeWoke Farmer, will put a link to his GoFundMe so you can support his efforts to continue to hold ICE accountable, to continue to hold the mask seeker police accountable. If you have $5, if you're unable to be in the streets, support someone who is in the streets. This is the article from the Daily Caller about that incident that now, oh my God, he was in a church and also he was at this other church. Oh, we're seeing a pattern here from this investigative journalist from the Daily Caller, the white supremacist rag. One anti-ICE agitator who yelled at children and families during a worship service Sunday in St. Paul, Minnesota, has also harassed congregants at Secretary of War Pete Hegseth's church in Washington, D.C. William Kelly, who shares video of himself clashing with law enforcement on social media under the DeWoke Farmer, was among the left-wing mob that disrupted services at City's Church in St. Paul. Earlier videos show Kelly outside Christchurch, D.C., the Capitol Hill church where Pete Hegseth attends service, calling congregants, fucking Nazis and spineless little bitches. Where's he wrong? Where is he wrong, white supremacist who wrote this article for the Daily Caller? You're going to learn how to do a pull-up in prison. I've just showed you him saying that. I've been waiting for this for a long time, Kelly told podcaster Jesse Dollemore in a December 9th video. I go to his church almost every Sunday and I miss him every time. So this was a long time coming. Families with young children at Christchurch, D.C. have to walk past profanity-laden harassment as they enter and exit, according to Joe Rigney, a founding pastor of City's Church and current pastor at Christchurch in Moscow, Idaho, which established the D.C. Church. We're going to get to that. Don't worry. We're going to get to that. One member went to, oh, this is great. This is so, we're going to end it with this chef's kiss for this article. All these steely-eyed warriors, all of these pull yourself up by your bootstraps, all of these excuse makers for the murder of an American citizen at the hands of ICE, all of these people who are making excuses for the violation of due process laws in the United States. They are, oh my God, somebody went to the hospital because a loud noise was made. One member went to the hospital after a protester let loose with the full force of a bullhorn in his ear. He wrote Monday for World, "The protests continued during the worship service as the agitators attempted to drown out the psalm singing and sermon with noise and sound amplification while we worshiped the Jesus, while we worshiped the white Jesus," they said. This is Douglas Wilson's church. If you're not aware, Douglas Wilson is a white Christian nationalist who believes, among other things, that women are people that people come out of. We'll start there, but then also that the 19th Amendment to the Constitution should be repealed and women should not have the right to vote. Suffrage should be abolished for ladies and only be for men, ostensibly white Christian men. Let's start, though, with the who women are to the pastor of the church that we're talking about here that Pete Hegseth goes to.
A big focus of his Christian movement is on a patriarchal society where men are dominant and women are expected to submit to their husbands.
Women are the kind of people that people come out of.
So you just think they're meant to have babies? That's it. They're just a vessel.
No, it doesn't take any talent to simply reproduce biologically. The wife and mother, who is the chief executive of the home, is entrusted with 3 or 4 or 5 eternal souls.
I'm here as a working journalist and I'm a mom of 3.
Good for you.
Is that an issue for you?
No, it's not automatically an issue.
Women are the kind of people that people come out of. You see Pamela Brown's face there? Yeah. We're all Pamela Brown in this moment watching this dipshit. This is a church who sends me books, all kinds of books, like I'm going to review them or interview these dipshits, these white Christian nationalists who deserve a fate far worse than they receive right now. They're in the spotlight now. They're in the power structure now, but you will not be forever, Douglas Wilson, you fucking ghoul, you antithetical monster to the actual philosophies of the man you claim to worship as God. Jesus would have been flipping over tables in your church if he were here today, calling for the abolition of the 19th Amendment, calling for women to not have a voice in our society of self-governance. So cry me a motherfucking river about your whiny fake Christian church being protested. That's not a church, that's a political organization. You're advocating for political remedy to things you don't believe. You're a political organization. You're not a church. You don't espouse the philosophies of Jesus the Christ that you claim you do. You're Nazis. You're white nationalists. You're Christian nationalists. You are ghouls. And you know what? More power to Will Kelly. Thank you, sir, for your patriotism. Thank you, Will Kelly, DeWoke farmer, for remembering your oath to the Constitution that you swore you would uphold when you joined the Army and were a combat vet in Iraq and Afghanistan. The thing that conveniently gets left out of the Daily Caller article, that he is a patriot to the nation, who risked his very life in service to this country in uniform, something that Donald Trump never did, something that Stephen Miller never did, something that Tom Homan never did, that Greg Bovino never did. They are just cowering, fucking physical weaklings. Stupid, cowering weaklings. What do you think? Again, I'm going to put a link to we'll pin a comment to Will's GoFundMe campaign. Now is as good a time. There's never been a better time to donate $5 or $10. If you have a spare hundo laying around, support his efforts to be on the ground. He has moved his life, uprooted his life to protest ICE, to stand in the gap for marginalized and abused and oppressed and murdered communities in the United States under Donald Trump. He's doing solid, patriotic work, actual patriotism. If you have a little bit, support it. I appreciate you very much.
Why is it the Gulf of Mexico? It should be the Gulf of America. I was going to call it the Gulf of Trump, but I thought that I would be killed if I did that. I wanted to do it. I wanted to. My people work so hard. Sir, I don't think it'll look too good. I'm telling you, it's a good thing.
Donald Trump, on his way out the door to go to Davos to give an incomprehensibly idiot speech, just a batshit crazy, hard to follow nonsense, rambling screed given by Donald Trump. On his way out to go do that, he did the same thing in the White House press briefing room yesterday. That was the most lunatic moment for Donald Trump that we've seen up to this point. Like, he is slipping away. His grasp on reality is just shattered. It's cracked. He is no longer someone to be relied upon for leadership, either just general leadership as a boss, but also as a leader who is supposed to defend the Constitution, to see that the laws are faithfully executed as president of the United States. And he made everything about himself. Everything always is about Donald Trump. I'll give you one little taste of him talking about he wanted to name the Gulf of Mexico rather than naming it the Gulf of America. He had a plan, but it was talked out of it by his staff to name it the Gulf of Trump. Republicans are silent. Oh, he's just joking. Ignoring all of the things they said were jokes that didn't end up being jokes, including attempting to overthrow the United States government, attempting to reverse the results of an election in 2020. They decried it then, and then months later, they bent the knee to their leader, Donald Trump. Here he is, talking about the Gulf of Trump, and then we're going to go on to even making the murder of Renee Good about himself. Watch this.
That's what happened to me. I was doing great with Biden. The whole campaign was against Biden. All the money was spent against Biden, and all of a sudden I got Kamala. Everyone said, who the hell is she? But that didn't work out too well for them, but never happened before. We are about lots of firsts. Designated English as the official language of the United States of America. We did that very powerfully. And while we're at it, we also took the Gulf of Mexico, and now it's the Gulf of America. Because we have 92% of the shoreline. It always bothered me. I'd say, we have most of the shoreline. Mexico has a small percentage, talks about 8%. We have 92%. And I said, why is it the Gulf of Mexico? It should be the Gulf of America. I was going to call it the Gulf of Trump, but I thought that I would be killed if I did that. I wanted to do it. I wanted to. My people work so hard. Sir, I don't think it'll look too good. I'm telling you, it's a good thing. And it'll be hotter than ever, I said. No, but I decided not to do that. I'm joking, when I say that. I was not going to call it the Gulf of Trump. Because tomorrow it'll be, Trump wanted to call it the Gulf of Trump, but he was rebuffed by his people. My people don't rebuff me too much. The Gulf of Trump, that does have a good ring, though. Maybe we could do that. It's not too late. No, we have the Gulf of America now. It's great. Our country is proud for the attack on Venezuela.
This is, even the worst despots in our political order today don't act like this. Donald Trump is special and unique in that way, which should give him great joy that he is special and unique. The man who was not hugged by his father enough and hugged too much by his doting moron mother. They ruined it. And by virtue of that, they ruined the world. When asked about the woman that he classifies as the domestic terrorist, his administration has labeled her time and time and time again a domestic terrorist, but also that it was tragic and he's really sad about it because apparently he's sad when domestic terrorists are murdered. Make it make sense. He's talking about how the people who were there on the scene screaming shame after they witnessed her killing, that they were paid protesters, that nobody would act like that if not professional paid protesters. I'm not a paid protester. I spent my own money to fly to Minneapolis, to stay in a hotel, to get up each day and go to the Whipple Federal Building, to go and interview people on the street, including Minnesota officials. I'm not paid to do that. I'm not surrounded by anybody who was paid to do that. But Donald Trump, he can't conceive of a reality where someone would be so outraged that they would exercise their First Amendment right to protest the murder of citizens and the rounding up and disappearing of community members. Watch Donald Trump. Then we'll move on to him making the whole thing about himself.
And we're met with paid agitators and insurrectionists, troublemakers. They're paid. You know, when the woman was shot, and I felt terribly about that. And I understand both sides of it. But when she was shot, there was another woman that was screaming shame, 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 right? You saw it. So loud. She was like a professional opera singer. She was so loud and so professional. She wasn't a woman that was hurt, like, oh, my heart's injured. She was a professional. She's shame, shame. She's screaming shame, shame. I said, that's not a normal person. That's a professional. These are professional agitators and professional people that want to see our country do badly. But that's not happening because we have the hottest country anywhere in the world, despite this stuff.
Opera singer? Loud noise? Of course, people are outraged when they witness the murder of a protester who was doing nothing illegal, who at the time of her death was steering the vehicle away from Jonathan Ross. Don't mean to dox him by saying his name. He continued talking about ICE is going to be rough on people. And that I learned her dad was a great supporter, a big Trump fan, and then continues to just spill the drivel out of the empty fucking head about how it was about him. Someone is dead, an American, one of his constituents, and he can't think about anything other than how he's connected to the tragedy.
These are insurrectionists that are doing this work. And, you know, they're going to make mistakes sometimes. ICE is going to be too rough with somebody, or, you know, they're dealing with rough people. They're going to make a mistake sometimes. It can happen. We feel terribly. I felt horribly when I was told that the young woman who was had the tragedy, it's a tragedy, it's a horrible thing. Everybody would say, ICE would say the same thing. But when I learned her parents and her father in particular I hope he still is, but I don't know, was a tremendous Trump fan. He was all for Trump, loved Trump. And, you know, it's terrible. I was told that by a lot of people. They said, oh, he loves you. He was I hope he still feels that way. I don't know. It's a hard situation. But her father was a tremendous, and parents were tremendous Trump fans. It's so sad. It just happens. It's terrible.
What kind of a ghoul makes the death of someone's child about themselves? Well, her dad's he's a big fan. But when I learned her father is, I hope he still is, but I don't know, was a tremendous Trump fan. Where are decent Republicans? These people who claim to be deeply religious people, following the philosophies and the teachings and the commands of Jesus Christ. Where are they? Where's Mike Lee? good Mormon boy. Where's he? Where's Rand Paul? Where's Ted Cruz? He's so Christian. Where are they? They've bent the knee is where they are. Don't trip and fall. Donald Trump's dick might land right in your mouth, Ted Cruz. Then where will you be? I guess in your happy place. Worshipping Donald Trump at all costs, doing whatever he wants, whatever gives Donald Trump pleasure is what Ted Cruz and the rest of these fake fucking Christians are here to provide. It's gross. It is gross watching American political leaders supplant their oath to the Constitution, replacing it with Donald Trump. What Donald Trump wants, he gets. He wants Greenland, he gets it. He wants a $400 million jet from Qatar. Oh, he gets it. He wants $1.5 billion added to his net worth in 12 months of his second term. He gets it. We will say nothing. He will loot the treasury. He will profit off the presidency. We will say nothing. Yes, dear leader, take what you want. Do you want my wife Heidi, says Ted Cruz? You can have her, sir. Fucking cowards. Weaklings. And MAGA, they're here for it too. They'd give him their wife too. They have no loyalty to anything other than Donald Trump. Not the Constitution, not good order and discipline, not norms. What Donald Trump wants, Donald Trump gets. And they're okay with it. They're not even ashamed of it. They have no dignity. Anyway, I'm going to go. I love and appreciate you. What do you want to say? You can say it in the comments below this video. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dalamore.com. That was a whole bunch of stuff said in one breath that I'm still in the middle of. I appreciate you. If you appreciate what I do, the work I do, if you derive value from what I do, more than you get from someone else. If someone else does more for you, if it's a Pac-Man or a Brian Tyler Cohen, I don't even know what those guys got going on. But if someone out there provides you more value than me, support them. $2 a month goes a long way if somebody is able to marshal the size of their audience. And if I was able to, it would be a game changer. I would appreciate it very much. You can help support and produce the work we do here. Become a channel member on YouTube, click the join button below, or even better, go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. Paid Mr. Trump $90.5 million, a $400 million jet, $867 million. This is a doozy. This is an amazing, Donald Trump is so comfortable in his projection. He's willing to call out Ilhan Omar for these fake numbers that are, she's $30 million now. That's her net worth. It has to be corrupt. It's so obvious that it's corrupt. She must be looked into because of $30 million. A lot of money, to be sure. We can't believe anything they say. I mean, you can't believe anything they say because everything is a lie and a conspiracy theory. But Donald Trump, while having enriched himself, which we're going to get to, the New York Times editorial board, the milquetoast New York Times is even saying, holy shit, we got a problem on our hands. The non-alarmist New York Times is saying we got a problem. We got a problem. But I want to start with this. This is a clip in a Newsmax interview, or I always want to say Newsmax, even though it's News Nation. It's just another Newsmax, just another Fox News. They're hiring every reject conservative journalist they can find. Fucking News Nation. Dipshit, Chris Cuomo and Leland Vittert and Katie Pavlich, all of these just abject rejects. Interviewing Donald Trump. And he starts talking about Ilhan, what's he call her? Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar. It's Omar. He knows that she's a horrible person, that she's got this net worth and it's obviously corrupt, and we're going to look into her. And then we're going to get to the New York Times talking about his new net worth, which is up $1.5 billion almost in just 1 year. That's $1,500 million versus the 30 he claims Ilhan Omar has.
Something's wrong when a place like Minnesota, which is a good place, it's got a horrible governor, it's got horrible people. This Elon Omar is horrible. I mean, she comes from a country that doesn't even have a government. They have nothing. And she comes here and she lectures us on the Constitution. She's got constitutional rights. She's just horrible. Somebody said she's worth $30 million. Well, therefore, she's obviously a very dishonest person. And she should be looked at for that. So you have a couple of things. You have the money thing, and then you have the all of the fake nonsense going on and screaming to people. They're so professional.
It's like, that just wasn't about her. It's about Minnesota in general. They got very bad people. Horrible people, he says, about his constituents, about Americans, about citizens of the United States, and also people legally authorized to be here, that he is now rounding up in an effort to create a white ethno-state. But all of this comes on the heels of something that was published yesterday in the pages of the New York Times from the editorial board. Again, the New York Times is verging on conservative in their approach to journalism, in their approach to looking the other way while Donald Trump commits crime after crime after crime. He is the globe's new Hitler of this century, and yet they're slow on the uptick. So here is what they wrote yesterday. I'll read just a little bit from this, and then we'll move on. It is a remarkable thing. I want you, when you witness what I'm getting ready to show you, to remember what he just said about Ilhan Omar and her paltry, even if it's true, 30 million versus his 1,500 million. 1 year ago, Donald Trump took an oath to serve the American people. Instead, he has focused on using the presidency to enrich himself. How Trump has pocketed $1,408,500,000. And there he is, $1.5 billion. President Trump has never been a man to ask what he can do for his country. In his second term, as in his first, he is instead testing the limits on what his country can do for him. He has poured his energy and creativity into the exploitation of the presidency, into finding out just how much money people, corporations, and other nations are willing to put into his pockets in hopes of bending the power of the government to the service of their interests. A review by the editorial board, relying on analyses from news organizations, shows that Mr. Trump has used the office of the presidency to make at least $1.4 billion. We know this number to be an underestimate because some of his profits remain hidden from public view and they continue to grow. The Trumps have made at least $23 million from licensing Mr. Trump's name overseas since his reelection. A hotel in Oman, an office tower in Western India, a golf course on the outskirts of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. These are a few of the more than 20 overseas projects the Trump organization is pursuing, often requiring cooperation with foreign governments. These deals have made millions for the Trumps, according to Reuters, and the administration has sometimes treated those same governments favorably. One example, the administration agreed to lower its threatened tariffs on Vietnam about a month after a Trump organization project broke ground on a $1.5 billion golf complex outside of Hanoi. Vietnamese officials ignored their own laws to fast-track the project. The Trumps are pocketing $28 million from Amazon for a documentary about Melania Trump. Notice the dollar sign, the dollars, stacks of dollar bills are growing here. Amazon paid far more for the rights to Melania than the next highest bidder, and far more than the company has previously paid for similar projects, according to the Wall Street Journal. Jeff Bezos, Amazon's chairman and one of the world's richest people, has many reasons to curry favor with the administration, including antitrust regulation, Amazon's defense contracts, and his space company's federal contracts. Major tech and media companies have paid Mr. Trump $90.5 million in settlements since his reelection, and the stacks of dollars continue to accumulate. The settlements have come from X, ABC News, Meta, YouTube, and Paramount. None of them were justified on the merits. Paramount, for example, agreed to pay the president $16 million for what he claimed was the deceptive editing of a 2024 Kamala Harris interview. The editing was a normal part of journalism. 3 weeks later, the Federal Communications Commission approved an $8 billion merger with Skydance. Qatar gave Mr. Trump a $400 million jet that he will use as Air Force One while president, and plans to take with him after leaving office as the stacks of dollars accumulate past $300 million. Mr. Trump seemed to acknowledge that the gift would influence his treatment of Qatar. "We are going to protect this country," he said in Doha shortly after Qatar offered the plane. Mr. Trump has said he expects to transfer the plane to his presidential library after leaving office. The Trumps have made at least $867 million through various cryptocurrencies. Mr. Trump's sale of crypto has been by far his biggest moneymaker, according to Reuters. People who hope to influence federal policy, including foreigners, can buy his family's coins, effectively transferring money to the Trumps, and the deals are often secret. One that has become public, a United Arab Emirates-backed investment firm, announced plans last year to deposit $2 billion into a Trump firm, 2 weeks before the president gave the country access to advanced chips. The dollars continue to stack, moving on to 1.4. All told, Mr. Trump has profited from his return to the presidency by an amount of money equal to 16,822 times the median income of a U.S. household. Mr. Trump's hunger for wealth is brazen. Throughout the nation's history, presidents of both parties have taken care to avoid even the appearance of profiting from public service. This president gleefully squeezes American corporations, flaunts gifts from foreign governments, and celebrates the rapid growth of his own fortune. When President Harry Truman left office in 1953, he did not even own a car. He and his wife returned to Missouri by train and lived for a time on his Army pension. He refused to take any job that he regarded as commercializing his public service, explaining, quote, "I knew that they were not interested in hiring Harry Truman, the person, but what they wanted to hire was the former president of the United States." Mr. Trump has said that when he leaves office, he plans to take with him a $400 million Boeing 747 that was a gift from Qatar. And then I'm going to end here. This tally focuses on Mr. Trump's documented gains. The 1.4 billion figure is a minimum, not a full accounting. It is probable, not possible here. They're using this word very, very specifically. It is probable that Mr. Trump has collected several $100 million in additional profits from his cryptocurrency ventures over the past year, over the past 12 months, several $100 million in additional profits. The Trumps have acknowledged as much when the Financial Times asked Eric Trump, one of the president's sons, about its estimated value of the company's crypto gains. He said they were probably even larger than the news organization thought. So look, the projection is just wild. It is pathological. There's something wrong with Donald Trump that he feels so emboldened to commit open corruption in public because he knows, one, that there's little that can be done based on the Supreme Court's ruling that he has virtual absolute immunity from crimes committed while in office. He's a king, apparently. But also he knows he's whipped these weak bitch-ass Republicans into shape so much that they will say nothing. Again, he could ravage their wives. He could rape their daughters, and they would thank him for the pleasure of having him do that to their family. They are cowards and weaklings and rubes and traitors to the country. They are traitors to their word, to their oath, to their solemn vow to the Constitution. They're traitors to their families and the betterment of all of our families. All for Donald. What are they getting for it? Nothing. They are getting betrayed. Look at the long list of people that Donald Trump has turned his back on. Marjorie Taylor Greene wasn't sufficiently loyal. Bill Cassidy, Tom Tillis, all of these people, what are they getting from it other than betrayal? They're certainly not getting $1,500 million in a year. They're certainly not getting $400 million jets from terrorist nations like Qatar. Strange. Does make you wonder what's in it for them, though. What do you think? You can tell me below in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. You could also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. I will see you next time. I'm going to go save my voice. Be genuine and take care of one another. He knows that he forgets things and he rambles and meanders and he gets frustrated and angry because he can't deal with the world like he used to be able to. He knows. I've talked many times about when Donald Trump is insecure about his cognition or people's perception of his cognition, he freaks out. And in this case, he brings it to a new level, which is threats, threatening mainstream corporate media outlets and others, which I think you know means people like me, not me specifically, but after having had Donald Trump block me on Twitter a few years ago, it certainly gives me a little pause. Unafraid, we will march forward, reading from Donald Trump's insane tweet, the likes of which no president could ever conceive of sending, relative to squelching the First Amendment of the Constitution of these United States of America. This is the same individual who has on the White House website right now a veritable media hit list, a searchable database of journalists Donald Trump disapproves of, taking up space on a government website, an absolute assault on the First Amendment and the independency of our journalists in this country. This is what he wrote, which, by the way, is really just taking a page out of Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA playbook, where they have a hit list of professors, a watch list of professors. This is from Donald Trump last night at 9:11 p.m. There has never been a president that has worked as hard as me. My hours, says the sleepy president. My hours are the longest. Apparently there's more hours in a day in Donald Trump's universe than there was during George Washington's time. My hours are the longest and my results are among the best. I've stopped 8 wars, capitalized for some reason, saving many millions of lives in the process. Created the greatest economy, capitalized so you know he's serious about it, in the history of our country. I'll stop with the making fun of the capitalization, but you know, it's very difficult. Greatest economy in the history of our country, brought business back into the United States at levels never seen before, rebuilt our military, created the largest tax cuts and regulation cuts ever, closed our open and very dangerous southern border when previous administrations were unable to do so, and created an aura around the United States of America that has led every country in the world to respect us more than ever before. In addition to all of that, I go out of my way to do long, thorough, and very boring medical examinations at the great Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, seen and supervised by top doctors, all of whom have given me perfect marks. Some have even said that they have never seen such strong results. I can just hear David Pakman getting months and months of traction out of this with the strong and from the standpoint of never seen such strong results. I do these tests with a capital T because I owe it to our country with the capital C. In addition to the medical with a capital M, yeah, I'm just going to do it. In addition to the medical with a capital M, I have done something that no other president has done on 3 separate occasions, the last one being recently, by taking what is known as a cognitive exam, something which few people would be able to do very well, including, by the way, let's just put this up on the side, just cover me, I guess, with what the cognitive test is that he took. You know, identifying the duck and the tiger and the horse. No president would be willing to try to identify these line drawings of animals. Only Donald Trump, the veritable genius, the stable genius, the brilliant mind of Donald Trump, he could only ascertain what this is. He could connect the dots. Oh, look out, everybody. Donald Trump aced it. He connected the dots on this test that is administered to people with failing memory and diminished cognition to ascertain exactly what problem they have, how far gone their brain is. And our soft, smooth-brained moron of a president wants you to believe this is like the SAT or the GRE. Just keep it up on screen here, both of them. Aced all 3 of them in front of large numbers of doctors and experts, most of whom I do not know. I have been told that few people have been able to ace this examination that you see on screen. And in fact, most do very poorly, which is why many other presidents have decided not to take it at all. Despite all of this, the time and work involved, the New York Times and some others, read in there Jesse Dollemore, I guess. Yeah, I can self-aggrandize a little bit, no? Come on now. And some others like to pretend that I am slowing up, am maybe not as sharp as I once was, or am in poor physical health, knowing that it is not true. And knowing that I work very hard, probably harder than I have ever worked before. I know it seems like you're working hard. It's because your body is diminished. Your cognition is diminished. So it seems like it's harder, but it's not. You're slipping. You are a shadow of your former self, which was a shadow of what a normal person is already. I work very hard, probably harder than I ever worked before. I will know I am slowing up, but it's not now. After all of the work I have done with medical exams, cognitive exams, and everything else, I actually believe, he actually believes, it is seditious, perhaps even treasonous for the New York Times and others, self-aggrandizement here, my moment, to consistently do fake reports in order to libel and demean me, the President of the United States. I don't know why that's in quotes. You are the President of the United States. Why are you putting the fact that you're President of the United States in quotes, you fucking moron? You weak-brained idiot, you dolt, you piece of driftwood that just floated up onto shore and we glued some fucking googly eyes to it. You are the president. It's not needed to be in quotes. They are true enemies of the people, and we should do something about it, says the man with a veritable hit list on the White House website. They have inaccurately reported all of my election results. In fact, we're forced to apologize on much of what they wrote. The best thing that could happen to this country with a capital C would be if the New York Times would cease publication because they are a horrible, biased, and untruthful source of information. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again, says Donald Trump. Remember how many years ago it was, over 10 years now, that Donald Trump has been calling the New York Times the failing New York Times. When are they going to fail, Donald Trump? Is it going to be when you finally don't ace this insanely difficult test? Read list of words. Subject must repeat them. What are the list of words? Leg, cotton, school, tomato, white. He repeated them, and he got them right. He aced this. No other president would be able to repeat these words, leg, cotton, school, tomato, white, or man, woman, camera, whatever. Look, he's feeling bad because he feels insecure. He knows that he is losing a step or three. He knows that his cognition isn't great. He knows that he forgets things and he rambles and meanders and he gets frustrated and angry because he can't deal with the world like he used to be able to. He knows. That's why he's posting long, meandering, wild, threatening posts about do not talk about the dear leader's cognition. Do not talk about the 80-year-old's failing health. Do not talk about the makeup and then a Band-Aid and then more makeup on the hand. Don't talk about the fact that he struggles to walk up a slight incline while out there with his grandson. Don't talk about it because it's treasonous. It is what a traitor to the country, to the Constitution would do to talk about Donald Trump that way. Unfortunately for Donald Trump, it's only ass-lick Republicans who believe like this, who think it is treason to talk bad about the President of the United States. Anyway, what do you think? I welcome you to this conversation. We can have it in the comments below the video, wherever you're watching it. This can't simply be him trying to erase history because these documents, they're not going to be deleted. They're not going to be erased. They're not going to be suppressed forever. But maybe it's just while he's alive, he doesn't want people to know the truth. Donald Trump's legacy, how he will be remembered by history, will be as an insurrectionist, as a chaos agent, as someone who attempted to overthrow the United States government on January 6, 2021, by way of trying to overturn a free and fair, settled American election in which he lost. And he dispatched an armed, racist, frothing, violent mob to the United States Capitol to hang Mike Pence and search ominously for Nancy Pelosi, ostensibly for her death too. These are the facts. This is the historical record. We all witnessed it. And Donald Trump is in a concerted effort to rewrite that history, to lighten, if you will, what his legacy will be, how he will be remembered. And he's going as far as to personally hide January 6 documents in order that injured Capitol police officers and metropolitan Washington, D.C. police officers do not get the justice they deserve. People who were injured in that violent mob insurrection at the United States Capitol. He's personally intervening to see that January 6 documents are not made public, which is an effort to cloud the record, the history of that day. Here's the headline from the New Republic. Trump personally intervenes to block release of January 6 documents. Donald Trump is blocking access in a lawsuit brought by police officers injured in the January 6 riot. Not a riot, New Republic. It was an insurrection. The Department of Justice has confirmed that President Donald Trump blocked the release of more than 4,100 documents related to the deadly riot on January 6th. I'm going to try to correct this in real time and replace the word riot with insurrection because this is incorrect. In a court filing Monday night, lawyers for the DOJ revealed that Trump had stepped in to prevent the release of some materials requested as part of a lawsuit brought by police officers injured by violent insurrectionists at the U.S. Capitol. The materials were originally subpoenaed from the National Archives and Records Administration in February. The filing included the December 1st memo signed by Trump, which claimed the subpoena had requested an extremely broad set of materials and blocked the release of 4,152 documents. Quote, I have determined that the following records are subject to a constitutionally based claim of executive privilege. This privilege helps respect the separation of powers enshrined in the Constitution and the need for the President of the United States to receive candid and confidential advice in decision-making, the memo stated. Well, that is a very accurate depiction and explanation of what executive privilege is, but how does it apply here? How would the release of these documents impinge upon Donald Trump's right to get counsel, to get advice, confidential advice in the course of his decision making? Or is the matter at hand that he does not want reality to see the light of day? He wants to be able to continue to lie about the Fedsurrection. He's having planted not journalists, MAGA activists who are cosplaying as journalists. He has them planted in cabinet meetings to ask questions about the Fedsurrection because he wants to rewrite history. Trump's memo asserted that claiming executive privilege did not waive other privileges, such as that for presidential communications, deliberative process, and attorney-client privilege. White House spokesperson Abigail Jackson released a statement last week confirming that Trump had asserted executive privilege in response to overly broad discovery requests in this case, Politico reported at the time. Look, there are probably other metrics at play here. I would encourage your participation in this conversation. You can comment below. What other elements here are we facing down? This can't simply be him trying to erase history, because these documents, they're not going to be deleted. They're not going to be erased. They're not going to be suppressed forever. But maybe it's just while he's alive, he doesn't want people to know the truth. He knows that his days are numbered on this planet. Again, you don't have Big Mac sauce and turkey gravy coursing through your veins as blood and continue to live much longer than Donald Trump has up to this point. He's not long for this world, and he knows it. So I don't know. But this is the last paragraph here. With this action, Trump is directly blocking a case alleging that he helped to fuel the riot. In a 2022 ruling, U.S. District Court Judge Emmett Mehta, who is overseeing the current case, found that there were indications Trump may have been aware that some of his supporters were armed and had discouraged security checks. We've heard this. We know this. We know we've seen the testimony. We've heard the testimony from the January 6th Select Committee that Donald Trump was furious that the ellipse was not filled with his supporters. And when they sought answers as to why, it was the fact that people didn't want to walk through the magnetometers with their weapons. And he said, take away the magnetometers. They're not here to hurt me. That might be a paraphrase, but it's a tight paraphrase. That is almost exactly what he said. It is certainly an accurate representation of what he meant when he talked about bring them all in. He's personally intervening in rewriting the history of the attempt to overthrow the United States government, period. What do you think? You can comment below the video wherever you're watching it.
And I said, we're going to bring back Christmas. Remember, the radical left wanted to get rid of the word Christmas. I said, I don't think that's going to work out.
So Trump took to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to give an economic address at a rally. Whenever Donald Trump starts feeling a little down, whenever Donald Trump starts feeling a little bad, he needs a psychic boost. He needs an ego boost, a self-esteem, a jolt to the system. And so he goes out and does a rally. And he surrounds himself with frothing, racist, xenophobic, fear-fueled MAGA crowds. And he did it yesterday too. In this economic address, where he explains to the crowd in this first clip that your kids can go without. They don't need X number of dolls or even X number of pencils. They can have two pencils. Yeah, that's good for them. Or no more than 3 dolls. That's good for them. The man who lived in a high-rise penthouse, he owned the building that his apartment sat atop, overlooking Central Park, clad in gold and ostentatiousness, giving giant stuffed animal lions to his son and little Mercedes-Benz mechanical cars, living in a gold palace. He wants the guy who never flies commercial and hasn't for decades and decades and decades. The guy who travels now via Air Force One and soon via the $400 million gift from the Qataris. He wants you to know that your daughter only needs 3 dolls. Only 2 pencils. Let that sink in this holiday season. Watch this.
The one thing you need steel. You know, you can give up certain products. You can give up pencils. Because under the China policy, you know, every child can get 37 pencils. They only need 1 or 2, you know. They don't need that many. But you always need steel. You don't need $37 for your daughter. 2 or 3 is nice, but you don't need $37. So we're doing things right. We're running this country right.
You hear that? The billionaire says your kids don't need that much. Your kids can go without. Your grandkids can go without because steel is important, I guess. What a great message leading into Christmas, just days away. Nothing says Merry Christmas more than your kids can go without. Merry Christmas, kids. Here's your cup with 2 pencils. Merry Christmas. Which apparently is back again. Feeling a little sensitive about his position in the political zeitgeist. People talking about Epstein too much. People are talking about his soft, smooth brain too much. Merry Christmas is back, everybody. Even though it never was gone. Here's Donald Trump. Just seriously, all of this is just in the morass, in the stew of distractions for Donald Trump. The pencils, the economy, and even Merry Christmas.
I just want to say hello, Pennsylvania, and I'm thrilled to be back. This incredible Commonwealth with so many proud, hardworking American patriots. That's what you are. So am I. I'm a proud hard worker. I'm a proud patriot, but you're a proud patriot. Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great reception. You know, we're on to expose what happened recently when we took over. You know, it's 10 months. And already we have the largest investment ever made in the history of, not our country, of any country anywhere in the world. Think of that. But let me begin by wishing each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all of that stuff. Remember when I started in 2015, I made my first speech, and I said, we're going to bring back Christmas. Remember, the radical left wanted to get rid of the word Christmas. I said, I don't think that's going to work out. And we did it, and now everybody's saying Merry Christmas again.
I love that the crowd laps this up. They want this to be true so badly that they will just suspend reality. Remember, the radical left wanted to get rid of them. They wanted to get rid of the word Christmas. No one wanted to get rid of the word Christmas. No one said it was bad to say Merry Christmas. No one. It's not a thing that happened. In fact, the most radical left person that Donald Trump can conjure in his brain, of course, is our first black president, Barack Obama. And he famously didn't say Merry Christmas, right? Isn't that it? Or did he say it a whole bunch and all the time because he's a Christian and he celebrates Christmas? This is from a video that I'm going to just play you a really quick mashup of Obama. This is something that we've been talking about certainly since Christmas Eve in 2016, when I posted this video back. Well, you'll notice not a single white hair in my beard at the very end and the beginning of this clip. So it tells you how long ago it was. But watch this. Watch Obama not saying Merry Christmas.
Have a very Merry Christmas.
We want to say Merry Christmas to everybody. A very, very Merry Christmas and a holiday filled with joy.
I want to wish every American a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
So Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
All right, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. So clearly there wasn't a war.
It's just so stupid. It is absolutely lunacy because it is just the clearest distraction attempt that could be made is leaning back into culture war nonsense from a decade ago, from a fucking decade ago. Donald Trump says, we're going to bring Merry Christmas back. We can finally say Merry Christmas, even though the president we'd had for 8 years, year after year after year, Christmas after Christmas after Christmas, holiday season after holiday season after holiday season, said Merry Christmas, y'all. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Hey, here's Obama saying Merry Christmas. It's Merry Christmas. But these people lap it up. These idiots, this frothing crowd that then descended later on into racism, which we'll get to, against the Somali community in Minnesota. This Pennsylvania crowd knows nothing about Minnesota, yet they know they love to hate black people. They know they love to hate Muslims. They know they're afraid of people who wear different religious and cultural clothing than them. They know that. Gross. Lunatics. The crowd included. The crowd included. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. You can ride into the comments on your giant stuffed lion. He needs the entire list of things and banners around the city and memorials, and he wants a peace prize. He got a soccer prize. I mean, it's pathological at this point. I want to share with you the headline of the article that I want to talk about today. But before I do, I got to thinking last night when preparing for the story that, man, there's a lot of things that when held in a vacuum and just on each individual level, like for instance, Donald Trump hanging banners all over the city with his face on them. It's like, that's one thing. Donald Trump naming Trump RX after himself with a weird website. That could be, that's one thing. But in collection, there's a pattern emerging here with Donald Trump renaming everything all over the city after himself and really trying to act like a dictator, like a fascist would, relative to even putting his face on money. And that's the headline here. And then I'm going to give you the entire list that there's probably others. In fact, I want to crowdsource here and have you write in the comments, tell me what I missed from this list. But here's the headline from The Independent that we're going to talk about. Democrats push to ban Trump's plan to put himself on a new $1 coin. Trump's self-celebrating maneuvers are authoritarian actions worthy of dictators like North Korea's Kim Jong-un, not the United States of America, one Senate Democrat said. And it really did get me to thinking of all the things that Donald Trump is either renaming in his honor or naming after himself, or just doing fascist, Hitler-esque dictator shit all over the city. And again, when in a list, in a compilation, it becomes more troubling than if you just hear about one thing and then there's one thing over here. I mean, the Republicans, they're ready to alter the United States Constitution, to amend our list of 27 amendments, to add another to allow Donald Trump to run for a third term. People at his rallies are wearing Trump 2028 hats. Donald Trump, months ago, started hanging banners all over the city with his face on them. And it became such a thing that the Heritage Foundation got in on it, and they hung a giant banner on the side of like this apartment building that's connected to their headquarters. They must own that apartment building. Because after Charlie Kirk was shot, the racist Christian nationalist bigot Charlie Kirk, when he was assassinated, that same spot was festooned, is that the word, with a giant Charlie Kirk banner about what a hero he was. These banners are all over. They redesigned I'm going to read from my list. They've redesigned the National Park Service entry cards to have Donald Trump on multiple of these cards. Trump's face on National Park Pass is illegal, experts say. Donald Trump is now making his birthday a holiday. I mean, we saw the disaster that it was his birthday parade with the squeaky tanks and the soldiers, the military members marching out of step. It was just, he was asleep during it. He wants his birthday to be something special. So special, in fact, that he has removed 2 federal holidays from a list of free entry to national parks. His birthday is now one of them, but has removed Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I just talked about this last week. And also Juneteenth, for us to aggrandize his birthday. We must recognize the birthday of the dear leader. There's now Trump savings accounts for kids. His name is on them. The aforementioned Trump RX with this coming soon website, coming January 2026, Trump RX. He has changed the H-1B visa to the Trump card, where you can pay like $5 million and have the Trump card, which is just a permanent residence card. His face on it. It's gold. It's weird. Republicans have put a bill forward to change the name of Dulles International Airport here outside of Washington, D.C. to Donald J. Trump International Airport. He's renamed the Institute of Peace to the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace, while there are allegations swirling about war crimes that he and Pete Hegseth have committed. He wants to rename RFK Stadium here in Washington, D.C., where the Commanders are going to play after the stadium is rebuilt. He wants to change the name to Donald J. Trump Stadium. And then, of course, with the Kennedy Center honors that just happened, there has been talk of renaming it to the Trump Kennedy Center, or eventually, I'm sure it'll just be the Donald J. Trump Center for the Performing Arts. Which leads us to this illegal coin that they want to put his face on. A group of Senate Democrats have put forward legislation that would prevent the government from minting coins featuring the likeness of President Donald Trump. The bill, called the Change Corruption Act, was introduced by Senators Jeff Merkley of Oregon and Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada Tuesday, Punchbowl News reported. Co-sponsors include lawmakers Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut and Ron Wyden of Oregon. Quote, no U.S. currency may feature the likeness of a living or sitting president, the bill states. Merkley compared Trump to global autocrats for his attempt to get his face on a coin. President Trump's self-celebrating maneuvers are authoritarian actions worthy of dictators like North Korea's Kim Jong-un, not the United States of America, the Oregon senator told Punchbowl News. However, given the GOP majority in both chambers of Congress and Trump's firm control over his party, the bill faces a slim chance of becoming law, and then he would have to sign the law. You think he's going to sign a bill that prohibits him from putting his face on our currency? A living human being on our currency, alongside of Benjamin Franklin and Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Ulysses S. Grant, Andrew Jackson, who hated paper money, and they still put his fucking face on the 20? Come on. In October, the U.S. Mint announced plans to create commemorative $1 coins bearing Trump's likeness in honor of America's 250th anniversary next year. The Mint's website lists 3 designs, 2 of which include headshots of Trump, which you're looking at right now, while a third has his side profile. All have phrases, "In God We Trust" and 1776 to 2026. An earlier draft of the coin, circulated by the U.S. Treasurer Brandon Beach, bore an image of Trump following the 2024 assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. In the design, Trump's fist is raised in the air, and the phrase "fight, fight, fight" is wrapped around the edge. Now, you might say, this is petty bullshit. Who really cares? But this is illegal. This is against current law, current U.S. code. There are already U.S. laws which There are already U.S. laws which seem to prevent living presidents from appearing on American currency. I guess this is the title in the U.S. code which seems to prevent. Title 31 of U.S. Code states, quote, only the portrait of a deceased individual may appear on United States currency and securities. The Thayer Amendment, passed in 1866, also prohibits living individuals from appearing on U.S. currency, according to ABC News. Donald Trump is an insecure weakling. He needs being president of the United States of America is one of 45, 46 people who have ever held the office. 46. Because Grover Cleveland, or would it be 45? Got to do the numbers here. It's 45 or 46. Because Grover Cleveland was, just like Donald Trump, president twice, out of order. So it's not the 40. Anyway, you get the point. It's not enough for Donald Trump. Being president didn't fill the void in his soul, in his heart, that tortures his ego and self-esteem. It didn't do enough. He needs the entire list of things and banners around the city and memorials, and he wants a peace prize. He got a soccer prize. I mean, it's pathological at this point. It's a diagnosable mental illness that Donald Trump has. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. I don't believe that it's just petty political drama. I believe these things have import for our lives because it really speaks to the people we elect to lead us.
She should get the hell out, throw her the hell out. She does nothing but complain.
MAGA, look, when Hillary Clinton said that 50% of them or whatever, a basket of deplorables, she wasn't wrong. And all of their consternation and harumph, that old lady, I can't believe she said that about us. It just blows my mind because last night at Donald Trump's hate rally, the crowd began chanting, "Send her back," speaking of American citizen Ilhan Omar. At his behest. He didn't lead the chant, but he certainly didn't stop him. He didn't say, no, listen, we need to have respect for all American citizens. We are a melting pot. We are a multicultural country where everybody's perspective is important, where everybody's contribution is important. Being an American is special. So special that when you gain citizenship, we should all put our arms around one another as Americans and come to some commonality about how to lead. He didn't say any of that because that's not in him. He's gleeful that they're chanting, "Send her back," as he demonizes this citizen, American congresswoman, elected by a district of constituents. Watch this. And then let's move on to really just racism and bigotry. And I mean, this is a white supremacy rally that took place last night. Here is him demonizing and I guess setting the stage to send Ilhan Omar back to Somalia, which she is not a citizen of.
We have people from all over the world being dumped into our country, the people that aren't wanted in their countries, by the way. I think that's a great, like Somalia. Welcome. Do we have any individuals from Somalia in the group? Please raise your hand. That's for Minnesota, you know. That's called the Great Big Minnesota Scam with one of the dumbest governors ever in history. I love this Ilhan Omar, whatever the hell her name is, with the little the little turban. I love her. She comes in, does nothing but bitch. She's always complaining. She comes from a country where, I mean, it's considered about the worst country in the world, right? They have no military, they have no nothing, they have no parliament. They don't know what the hell the word parliament means. They have nothing, they have no police. They police themselves, they kill each other all the time. I love it. She comes to our country and she's always complaining about the Constitution allows me to do this. We ought to get her the hell out. She married her brother in order to get in, right? She married her brother. Can you imagine if Donald Trump married his sister? Beautiful. She's a beautiful person. If I married my sister to get my citizenship, do you think I'd last for about 2 hours, or would it be something less than that? She married her brother to get in. Therefore, she's here illegally. She should get the hell out. Throw her the hell out. She does nothing but complain.
Ilhan Omar, whatever the hell her name is it too difficult? Fewer letters in her name than yours, Donald Trump. With her little turban, she comes in, does nothing but bitch. We ought to get her the hell out. The President of the United States vowing to deport, it's not something you can do to a citizen, but deport an American citizen. She's here illegally, he says, while they chant send her back. While they chant send her back with this fucking dipshit in the back of the crowd, with a Make America Holy Again hat on, pumping his fist, send her back, you know, just like Jesus would do. Ilhan Omar is 43 years old. She's been in the United States since she was roughly 12 years old. She's been a citizen for nearly 26 years. Certainly has been a United States citizen, an American, longer than some of the idiots in the crowd who are born here, who are 25 years old. She's been an American longer than them. Is she less an American because she was not born here? That she's a naturalized citizen? I would say no. If being an American is special and different and unique, then should we not celebrate it? Disgusting. The other thing he did, which really should lead us to understand that when Donald Trump denies something that's being reported, it's not fake news. He's a fucking liar. Because in this next clip, he retails the tale of calling countries like Somalia shithole countries, African nations, black and brown, predominantly inhabited countries are shitholes because they're not white. And he denied it at the time. Remember these headlines before I play the clip, actually. CNN, Trump denies making shithole countries comment. Here's the Guardian. Trump denies shithole countries remark, but Senator asserts he said it. Donald Trump said he used tough language, but denies using the specific phrase. And remember how the basket of fucking deplorables, these racists, these xenophobes, these MAGA cult members, they defended him. No, that's fake news. Donald Trump says he didn't say it. I believe him. He didn't say it. And now you all have egg on your face. Donald Trump is humiliating you because you defended him. And now he's admitting, yeah, I said that. Of course I said that. I'm a fucking piece of garbage. I'm a racist. Of course I said that these are shithole countries. Here he is, not in so many words admitting it, but he didn't say the things I just said. He did it in his own Donald Trump way. Watch this.
I've also announced a permanent pause on third world migration, including from hellholes like Afghanistan, Haiti, Somalia, and many other countries. I didn't say shithole, you did. Remember I said that to the senators, they came in, the Democrats. They wanted to be bipartisan. So they came in and they said, this is totally off the record. Nothing mentioned here. We want to be honest because our country was going to hell. And we had a meeting. And I say, why is it we only take people from shithole countries, right? Why can't we have some people from Norway, Sweden, just a few? Let us have a few. From Denmark, do you mind sending us a few people? Send us some nice people, do you mind? But we always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime. The only thing they're good at is going after ships.
I didn't say shithole, you did. And then proceeds to say, I said that to the senators, the Democrats. So they came in and they said, this is totally off the record. I said, why is it we only take people from shithole countries? He admits it. And if you were a rube enough to believe his denial, there's little hope for you. All of my regular trolls who watch. I would love some kind of mea culpa. Some kind of like, yeah, I was wrong. I defended him, but yeah, he said it. I called the fake news the enemy of the people because they said he said it. They reported he said it, and he denied it. But they were the enemy because they reported on it. He didn't say it then, but now I guess he said it. While calling for the removal, the deportation, however they're going to get Ilhan Omar out, as the crowd is whipped into a frenzy cheering at send her back. This is Nazi shit. This is white ethno-state creation shit from the President of the United States of America, a man who there's never a cross word for from Republicans. Silence is complicity, Republicans. If you stand by and say, oh, I didn't watch the news, sorry, I didn't see it, I'm just a dumb who doesn't know anything about what's going on in the country, but yes, I'm a political leader and I have your futures, your welfare in my hands relative to the votes that I take. But yeah, I don't know about the things that are controversial. It's just gross. It's gross. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video. If you're on Facebook, make sure you're liking and following the Dollemore Daily on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. It is free to do both of those things.
You just said you back the blue. The police quote you in this report as you calling them effing idiots and effing incompetent while stating that you're an effing representative.
One thing that is depressing to watch, but also amusing at times to watch, is the fact that the Republican Party has just been turned into a loose grouping of performance artists. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Troy Nehls and Jim Jordan and James Comer. These goobers, it's all a performance. It's all an act for their dear leader as they curtsy to Donald Trump. And Nancy Mace is maybe one of the worst, just a breathless chaos agent. They all act like they support the troops, and then they denigrate the troops, and they cut the budgets of the troops. They go like Nancy Mace right now is out there putting all kinds of memes and political ads out about all of these millions and billions of dollars that she secured for the state of South Carolina to fund infrastructure projects and other such government-funded projects, even though she voted against the legislation that provided for that appropriation, that appropriated those millions and billions of dollars for her state. She voted against it and is now acting like, I did my job in Congress to get this money for South Carolina. Please elect me governor. And the other thing she's just a wicked, sickening liar about is her love of the police. There was an incident at an airport, I think last Thursday, during which she berated the TSA and the police. She freaked out and was ranting and raving so much that she didn't shut the fuck up until she got to her plane and boarded. I'm going to read a headline and 2 paragraphs from this article, and then I've got a clip from CNN that is just bananas, with her talking to Caitlin Collins last night, trying to defend the things that she says that are completely countervalant, if you will, it's contrary to the things that she says about supporting the cops. Now she's calling them liars while still trying to maintain. Well, she doesn't call them liars. She goes, you're still calling them liars? No, I'm not calling them liars. I'm saying that's false. Yeah, we're going to parse the words, Nancy. Anyway, here's the headline from the Washington Post. Nancy Mace berated airport police and TSA agents, incident report says. The report claims Nancy Mace called officers incompetent and accused them of mistreating her, because it's always the fucking victim Olympics with these people. Representative Nancy Mace, Republican of South Carolina, who is running for governor of her state, berated police officers and Transportation Security Administration officials at Charleston International Airport on Thursday, according to an incident report from the Charleston Airport Police. Quote, she repeatedly stated, we were fucking incompetent, and we don't have to bleep. Let's just this video. We'll leave it, leave Nancy Mace to her actual words here. She repeatedly stated we were fucking incompetent And this is no way to treat a fucking U.S. representative, PFC Aaron W. Reed, who serves with the airport police, wrote in the report. Reed also wrote that Mace told officers they, quote, would never treat Tim Scott like this, referring to the U.S. senator from the state and former GOP presidential candidate, and reported that she planned to contact, quote, Elliot and tell him how horrible she has been treated in reference to the airport's president and CEO, Elliot Summy. And then this final, Reed wrote that Mace was cursing and complaining as officers escorted her to the gate, and she continued her tirade until boarding. I don't know. Listen, having grown up in poverty and being poor, and I just don't understand entitlement. It is a foreign language, the likes of which I will never learn. I don't understand it. I pride myself in being a regular I was at a political conference one time, and I was standing in line for like the next session, the next lecture, the next whatever. And people came up to me and like, why are you waiting in line? I'm like, why would I not wait in line? What am I, George fucking Clooney or something? I don't understand entitlement. Regular person. Just because more people know who I am than maybe know who you are doesn't make me special. But these people believe it does. She believes she's beyond the rules. She believes she's entitled to special treatment, different treatment. I'm a United States representative. Yeah, get in fucking line, lady. You're not special. In fact, you're less special than other people. This is her with Caitlin Collins on CNN last night, really trying to play cleanup here, because this is not a good look. Even in South Carolina, among the Republicans, they're going to see right through this bullshit. That she is mistreating the cops. There's probably a lot of people in Charleston, which isn't a giant city, who know this cop, this Aaron W. Reed, the airport cop. And they're going to take his word over hers because they've seen her track record. Here she is with Caitlin Collins on CNN, really doing her best to play cleanup here.
Seriously, and you know, that to me is very, very important. I back the blue, I back our police, I back our security. You know, in my district in South Carolina, I've gotten millions of dollars for local law enforcement to support them in their efforts to keep our communities safe. But what's not okay is falsifying reports, falsifying incident reports. I've taken on top cops like Kim Cheadle after Donald Trump was shot. I helped get her, force her resignation when she came through with the oversight.
You just said you backed the blue. The police quote you in this report as you calling them effing idiots and effing incompetent, while stating that you're an effing representative and telling a TSA supervisor, I'm sick of your shit. I'm tired of having to wait. I should not have to wait. You guys are always effing late, and this is effing ridiculous. Are you saying you didn't say those things?
Well, you're quoting a document that was in part falsified. They say a lot of things, and the video doesn't show that. There's no audio. I asked for all the body cam footage and the audio. They also state in the report that there was an incident at the gate. The video shows nothing that didn't happen. And so for me, it's important that we tell the truth. And I've taken responsibility. Yes, I was absolutely 100% frustrated.
But did you say those things that you're that I just read?
No, I did not. I mean, I definitely.
So you're saying the police officers are lying?
No, I'm saying that is in part false. And that is a falsified document. There are things in there, most of what's in there that's quoted is not true. So that to me is important that we tell the truth. I asked for audio and I asked for body cam footage and they didn't release it. They say it doesn't exist. I asked for that because I think it's important that we tell the truth and show. I don't even remember that morning, but what I do remember is being at the gate and being on a conference call. And like last time I checked.
You don't remember having this tense interaction with
I
the
definitely
officers?
was frustrated, 100% frustrated. I definitely, when the law enforcement finally showed up for the security detail, I absolutely was frustrated. But the video that they released are showing me asking for help. Like I asked TSA agents for help when I was looking for security.
Well, there's also part of the video, where you speaking to a TSA agent, there's also part of the video where you're walking down the hallway and there are two officers behind you. I assume they're the ones who spoke to the
and where I'm
investigators
pointing, I was pointing to a security desk where the airport security usually sit and wait. And I was asking the TSA agent if she could call down to the security desk and get assistance for me. So like that's not, asking TSA for help isn't against the law.
But are you saying that you never said any of these quotes, that every single one is a lie?
You have to read it to me again. I did not
idiots,
say that. I did not call them
and that
idiots.
you're an effing representative.
I did not say that. I did
and
not
you didn't
call,
say, I'm sick of your shit, I'm tired of having to wait, I should not have to wait, you guys are always effing late, this is effing ridiculous.
No. I mean, no. I've never called a cop an idiot. That is a remarkably false
But you're saying these police officers are lying then, who spoke to the investigators?
I am absolutely saying that report was falsified, 100% fictitious, falsified. They were not there. They did not show up. I was very frustrated with the situation.
Again, entitlement. I mean, the article, the part of the article from which I read didn't include the things that Caitlin Collins read back to her. That you're idiots, effing incompetent, while stating that you're an effing representative and telling the TSA supervisor, I'm sick of your shit. I'm tired of having to wait. I should not have to wait. Why should you not have to wait, regular person? Being a congresswoman does not make you immune from the inconveniences that the rest of us little people have to suffer through. Your work is not so, if your work was so important that you needed to be somewhere before someone else, the government would provide you a jet. If there was an emergency underway, you would have your transportation dealt with. Instead, you're flying commercial because that's what the rest of us do. And your job's not that important. You're not that important. But you are entitled. You do feel that way. The Republican Party, for all of their murmuring about participation trophies, they sure do want participation trophies. They sure do want to be treated special and different without actually doing the work to make themselves special or different. Gross. Un-American, to use a phrase that is so commonly used by Republicans. Do your duty, do your role, play your role, be like the rest of us, Nancy, because you're not special. In fact, you should be punished for this. The people of South Carolina should be smart enough to know you're not it. You're not it. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation, especially if you are a resident of South Carolina, a voter in South Carolina. I would definitely love to hear from you. You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me. If you appreciate what I do, if I bring you value on a day-to-day basis with any number of videos that I do, I would appreciate if you would help support this work in independent media that I do. Help me. You can help me produce these videos and reach millions of people. For $2 a month, you can become a channel member on YouTube, or even better, you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. I'm going to go. I love and appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.